15 Reasons Not to Move to Canada. Part 1. It's expensive to travel around. Canada is one of the worst countries to travel to and from. Not only is it far from many interesting places, like Europe and Asia, but it also has incredibly high flight costs. Both national and international flights have the potential to bankrupt you. For example, a flight from Toronto to Ottawa, a 45-minute flight, costs an average of $373 Canadian dollars. Meanwhile, in the UK, it only costs the equivalent of $40 Canadian dollars to get from Glasgow to Amsterdam, a 1.5-hour flight. So if you're moving to Canada, you'll really take a hit on travel costs. It's also harder to find cheap flights in Canada, which means you'll have to book in advance. Booking in advance will make it hard for you to spontaneously travel when something interesting comes up. So if you're looking to move somewhere that will facilitate easy, cheap travel, then Canada may not be right for you. Winter is downright freezing. In 2018 and 2019, Canada's winters were colder than Antarctica. Canada gets all 4 seasons. That means beautifully hot summers, crisp autumns, and blossoming springs. And the coldest winters you've ever felt. If you're not used to winter weather, then be prepared for some serious culture shock. Canadian winters can be absolutely brutal. Depending on where you plan to live, you'll need to gather up your Canada winter clothes. Outside of Vancouver, winters are very snowy and very cold. In Toronto, the warmest city outside of Vancouver, temperatures regularly fall to 10 C. With a wind chill, they can reach 25 C. The benefit of the snow is that winter in Canada is very bright. The sun reflects off the snow, turning the country into a polar beacon. You'll need sunglasses just to go outside. But that's good. It's harder for immigrants to get jobs. Canada may love to bring in immigrants, but they haven't figured out how to ensure they can work. There are many issues for immigrants working in Canada. First, you need to speak fluent English. And, in some cities, you'll also need to speak fluent French. If you don't speak either language fluently, you'll struggle to find work in the country. Secondly, you need Canadian certifications. You may be trained as a doctor, but unless your certification is from a Commonwealth country or the US, you're unlikely to find work without recertifying. That means either retraining entirely or passing expensive licensing tests. They say that Toronto has the most doctor cab drivers because of this. Thirdly, companies hiring for jobs in Canada favor Canadian work experience. If you have experience working outside of Canada, they struggle to check references. Even my degree from the UK has made it a challenge, since some of my teachers act as my references. Finally, it's hard to get in the door with many companies. Canada has a lack of upper-level jobs. This is partially due to the lack of competition in the country. Many of our markets are controlled by the government, which means the most stable economy, but fewer executive and C-level positions. This means that many people are competing for executive positions. Thankfully, the government has started to recognize the need to assist immigrants with their job hunt. There are now numerous programs available to teach foreigners English, help them find jobs, and assist with certifications. Free healthcare is a hoax. Canada is home to free healthcare, which is one of the best reasons to move to Canada. However, it isn't entirely free. For example, dentists, prescriptions, vision care, and preventative medicine are not covered by our free healthcare. That means you're still paying out of pocket for expensive medical visits. Many jobs have benefits to help cover these. They may pay a percentage of your dental and vision, or even offer a fixed cap that they will pay up to. This can help get some treatment, but you'll still need to cover additional expenses. Free healthcare has created an issue in the industry. Doctors and nurses in Canada don't get paid as well as they do in the US. This is because they get a salary. They don't make money for each surgery. That doesn't incentivize them to do more surgeries. It also means that many of our doctors leave for the US to make more money. You will get seen by a doctor or specialist, but it will take longer than in the US. Since we have free healthcare, there are limited options to pay for upgrades or expedited service, which some immigrants expect. You'll have to get used to waiting like the rest of us. Housing costs have skyrocketed. Toronto's housing market has boomed in recent years. Now, it's very expensive to buy in Toronto. If you are living in Toronto or Vancouver, you'll need upwards of $2 million Canadian to find a place bigger than a shoebox. That being said, you can find affordable housing if you're willing to commute from suburbs or smaller towns. If you live in cities with fewer job opportunities, like Halifax, you can find much more affordable houses. so it's not impossible to buy a house. But it is a challenge, especially in the bigger cities. If you're moving to Toronto, you'll be shocked at the prices here. Price tags don't include tax. When you live in your home country, this might seem totally normal to you. As normal as tipping at a restaurant. But in Canada you realize how strange it is. You go to a store, see a posted price, then have to guess what your total will be when you factor in tax. It makes it so much harder to budget, especially when you're grocery shopping. It also means that prices seem a bit cheaper at first. Once you factor in taxes, it gets a bit more expensive. So be prepared for everything to cost more than the price tag upon relocation to Canada. Phone plans cost a fortune. In Canada, my phone plan is currently $90, 110 Canadian dollars per month, before taxes. This is a cheaper rate. It includes unlimited texting and calling in Canada only. And it includes about 0.75 gigabytes of data, which is used up much faster. For example, one video call in Canada requires 4x as much data as the same video call in the UK or in India. In Canada, it's nearly impossible to get an unlimited data phone plan. However, they are readily available around the globe, and still cost less than a single month on a Canadian phone plan. We will be back with our part 2 for this video soon. Don't forget to subscribe for more.